What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for October 7th, 2024. 3.24.2 is already in Wave 1, so the push for Citizencon is real. Server meshing is starting to look more and more like a reality, and we got our first Citizencon sneak peek. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first Week in Review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, and I love it when you guys come over from YouTube and say hi over there. Now, I don't have any sponsors this week, as I want to focus mainly on prepping for the big Citizencon live stream with Level Cap and Burks that we'll be doing here on twitch.tv/SaltEMike, but also over on Level Cap's channel on YouTube. So check out the merch store if you guys want to go above and beyond and support that way, or if you're really enjoying Week in Review, you can feel free to become a member. But without further ado, let's check out the patch notes. All right, there are a lot of patches this week. We'll start out with Tuesday. It was an Evo patch for 3.24.2, and the main update here is you can now be in nav mode, but also use your mining laser or salvage UI. So that was always in SCM before, but now it is in nav mode. And then they're doing more to remove the cannon meta by reducing their damage output. And yep, if you didn't know, the multi-tool works differently now. So it's right mouse button to move cargo and items, left mouse button is the 0G traversal mode, instead of having to press B to swap between the modes and always using left mouse button to fire the laser. They fixed a ton of bugs as well, but remember 3.24.2 is on the 4.0 code base. So don't expect the bugs that you want squashed from 3.24.1 necessarily to be a priority early on here, as it's probably just stabilizing the 4.0 code base is mostly what the bugs that are being squashed are now. Then Wednesday, they reverted the boost reductions they did last week after the backlash from the community, and more on stuff like that later on. More MFD polish, and the Custodian is getting a little buff after being nerfed really bad a while back, and they just polished the P8 AR a bit. For bugs, they fixed an issue where Atmo Flight was being applied to all ships, no matter where you were. That one was really bad. Then Thursday, this is just a little polish update, but nothing too worth calling out. They did nerf the P8 AR a bit, as it was feeling a bit OP. Then Friday is when we moved to Wave 1. But the notes are still kind of that night's Evo patch, so it's not showing all the stuff for Wave 1 testers to know what to dive into. But if you've been seeing footage, that was from Wave 1 on the first couple Evo patches from today's video. So they polished some of the HUDs. They added tooltips, which is kind of cool, but they're not very informative right now. And they changed some icons on the weapon config screen. And then Saturday, this was a much larger patch and a lot more changes. So let's get into them. They added a ton of bindings for MFDs, like selecting them and cycling through them, but you can't interact with them with keybinds exactly. You can up power and lower power, but that's really it. The other MFDs are, it's not like Elite Dangerous, basically. You still need to use your mouse. Also, your settings on a ship will persist. So it's a little weird right now, but basically if you spawn a brand new ship, you go in, you change the settings. When you store it, that will save something on your computer, similar to the way you can save characters, I think. And then the next time you get in that ship, it will be there for you. But if somebody else gets in the ship and it's new, it'll be their settings. It's a weird one. So where we need to get to is when I sit in a Corsair, then my Corsair settings are there for me. When somebody else sits in a Corsair, their Corsair settings are there for them. But it looks like we're a part of the way there. And then they made some odd changes to weapon grouping in order to be more uniform across the game. So precisions mode, default keybinds is right mouse button. And then they removed the weapon fire group. There's just one now. So you couldn't do weapon fire group 1, weapon fire group 2. You have to actually scroll through the fire groups and then fire. So it was like an extra click. It was a little bit weird. And yeah, the community was pretty upset about that one. More on that in a little bit. They added more tooltip kind of panel-like things to the star map, and they changed the Prospector MFDs. I hate these personally. Let me know what you guys think, but I think my least favorite MFDs so far are the MISC ones. Holograms have proven to just be horrible in this game, and they just keep doing it. Then they did a little bit more balance on the P8 AR. I don't think it'll be super OP. I think it just should be in gun rush in a rotation with the other weapons of its kind. Now, there was also an Arena Commander update where they showed the front end a little bit, and then also themed it for the event. But the big thing to show from the front end is actually insanely funny, I think, and it is the hangar ship will go up and down the elevator. If you change the ship, if you change anything about the ship, it will kind of go up and down the elevator, and the ship of your choosing will be more like you're in the hangar changing those things. But it also goes at the pace of the current hangar, so incredibly slow. So it's pretty funny. It's also really loud in Saturday, and on Sunday they lowered that volume. And even more updates to Arena Commander. There's actually the full planet of Lear 2 or 3, whichever one has the Good Doctor map, and you can actually fly to the Good Doctor map and walk in it, walk out of it, and all that stuff. So that's really cool, and yeah, it does look a bit like Hurston, and there was some criticism of that, but terraforming, you imagine the same trees and grasses and stuff would be used to terraform other planets. So for science reasons, and then, yeah, to get the game done reasons. So I don't really have an issue with it, but I saw some others did. Let me know what you guys think. But anyway, right away they come in with the fix on Sunday about the lack of weapon group choices. One day later, props to the team for hearing the feedback, recognizing it, and actioning it. That's something we didn't see much this year, and I'm happy to see it now. And also, they did some flight tuning, but big stuff in today's patch is really around FPS weapons. So first, the SMG is really strong right now, and instead of doing what they would normally do, which is nerf it, because I think they're fun to use, I think they're in a great place, they're buffing other weapons like rifles to compete with them at a bit of a longer distance. SMGs are short distance, rifles can be a bit longer, and the category of fight can change there, right? They are doing this by reducing the horizontal recoil of the P4AR, and I think the Karna rifle as well. They're doing a lot with the Karna rifle. They want it to be a more skill-based weapon where recoil control is pretty important, and they increased the magazine size for that. SMGs are basically just getting a visual change for how long it takes for your gun to settle after you're done firing, and then I don't know if this is a meme, but they're raising the custodian by 0.01% damage. And then lastly, snipers, they realized not many are living that sniper fantasy, is what they said in the patch notes. So they're kind of taking the P6 and the scalpel and saying, we will not have damage drop off past double where it was before. So they're really trying to boost the range up on them and see how that goes. And then Benoit gave us a server meshing test update, and I'm basically going to use this to share my thoughts and feelings and what happened to me in the server meshing test. So this will be the server meshing test part, but it makes way more sense to hear what Benoit says about it than what I say about it, right? So he lets us know that the comparison to the previous test, a lot of the really bad things were resolved. So the bad stalls, interaction delays, stuff like that, were feeling good. We didn't have any real ping issues either. That was a big one for me. But unfortunately, after the 100 baseline test, they went straight into 1,000 players, 6 server test. And it 30K'd bang, 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 over and over and over again. And unfortunately, it was feeling good, but we never actually got to feel what the test was like because they shut it down pretty quickly, right? Then they dropped down to 500 players, and most of those issues were gone. And they left it up for about 8 hours, and the focus is going to be figuring out why 1,000 players caused so many problems and 500 players didn't. And they said the 1,000, like for me personally, the 1,000 player test looked like it was going to be really fun. I was basically in what looked like a New York City subway at rush hour time. It was cool. And they replied to the thread, letting people know that they aren't targeting a specific player count for 4.0. Now, I imagine they are for a 1.0 release, and they're just trying to figure out the right balance between the game world feeling alive and these bottlenecks of old creations from 2.0 and 3.0 alike, basically, like ASOP terminals and hangars and gateway to get out and all these things. So they really need to take a look at that stuff, because if this game is going to reach the MMO standards, then they might have to make some exceptions to the way we deal with ASOP terminals or the way we deal with busy areas, right, in terms of interactions and things like that. And then Day of the Vara. So it's October, and this is their Star Citizens version of Halloween. And the skins this year are not great. I love the Day of the Vara skins. The green metallic is one of my favorite skins in the game. The ghoulish green, it's called. But this year, they went from that green to something pretty wild that is not my style at all. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about the skins. And then they have a bunch of other events. Kill Collectors going on in Arena Commander where you can get another challenge coin as a reward. I mean, I think that's kind of whatever, but it's still a reward worth grinding for, in my opinion. Maybe it'll be worth something down the line. Who knows? The old skins are still available, though. So if you're like me and love them, you can pick them up and check them out. So that was the patch notes. Let's move on to something a little bit shorter, roadmap updates. So this is more than a little short. This is a very short one. Basically, they're just all the Zeus variants and the MFD rework are now, the cards were up there. They're now just committed, right? Nothing new added, nothing removed. So nothing more to say really, other than the roadmap roundup has been pretty boring over the last few months and weeks. And that's, it could either be considered good and okay that things are kind of cruising and doing their thing, or it could be that, yeah, this year didn't really go as planned, and they had so many updates and so many good things coming and being talked about the first half of the year because it was 323 and everything's going great, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and now everything kind of came off the rails. So, you know, trying to do more and add more and more and more when they didn't get the old stuff done yet, that's probably why it feels that way. So with that, let's move into the monthly report. And normally I would just ignore the AI stuff, but this is pretty cool. The bottom paragraph here, that's in the game. I saw it on a video from PC 101, good friend of mine, and you should probably sub to him because he's awesome. But yeah, these dudes are talking to each other now. The NPCs are talking to each other in bars. Now, it's jank. It's weird. Don't know if it's ChatGPT AI stuff or like actually voice acted, but it's there. And
I had the best hand of trigger I've ever had last week. Could not believe it. One card after another.
Let me get a drink.
It was beautiful.
You got it. Great stuff.
I guess it's cool. I don't know. And then character art, I just keep this in because I find it funny that it's been copy and pasted for 12 months straight, basically. These special armors, and I've been saying this again and again and again, to wait 12 months for them, they better be really special, right? And then ship art, I'm doing kind of the same thing. I'm sharing with you because I think it's funny that it's Citizencon IAE time, so they're not going to say anything here at all, right? So just pointing out that there's nothing there is kind of weird, but at the same time, we do expect to see big updates at the event coming up in about a week and a half, right? As always, though, the meat of the monthly reports, now we're in the core gameplay section, and they were working a lot on jump points. Now, jump drives will now be consuming quantum fuel. So my curiosity is piqued on when we exit the jump point. How much fuel will we have left? How able will we be to get to our destination? Will we have to refuel? So I'm very curious about that. Let me know what you guys think. And then they're also heavily invested in the resource network stuff. So they were resolving ships not having enough power. And we will talk about this in a little bit, but they're making a lot of changes to components. And a competition drive is going to feel very different from an industrial drive, and it will have different characteristics in-game. So I think what's happening here is there might be a big shift in stock components on a lot of ships. So keep an eye out for those, that things might be shifting around a lot in the near future. Radar and scanning is really coming along as well, and they're talking about Delta signatures again. And personally, I just hope the cat and mouse between players is fun. This looks like a step in the right direction, but we'll have to see. And then another mention of the mission refactor, which is obviously hyper important. It seems like it's working well, and again, this is a refactor that will bring parity essentially to what we have in 324 right now, right? It's not meant to be a giant new system that brings all this new gameplay and a bunch of new missions. The idea is to have a more functional foundation to make missions from, and have it work with server meshing, obviously. So that is the monthly report. Not a whole lot there, not a whole lot to be expected there. They're saving all the stuff they're actually working on. They're going to tell us it at Citizencon. So with that, let's move on to other updates. And as always, starting out with the sneak peek. This is clearly something they want to sell this year, right? Oh, wow, big surprise. I see Argo Orange, so what kind of ship do you think this is? The only gap I see in the Argo lineup is salvage, and that kind of makes sense from the idea that ships take a long time to make, so 6 months ago, 9 months ago, maybe they were thinking about making a Argo salvage ship, and now we have it kind of thing. But let me know if I'm totally off base. It could even be a vehicle the way it looks, so who knows? Let me know what you guys are thinking on this one, or if you even care at all. But the next one you should care about. This is the only sneak that we have about Citizencon, and we have the updated map of the venue, right? So we see a layout of it, and three things really stick out to me. First is the lack of PCs on the map. That means that there's probably no playable demo, but Croncy on the Answer the Call podcast pointed out that the Hornet on the map could technically be covering that section, as it is quite a large section if you compare it to the seats in that. Basically 300 people look like you could fit there. So that could be where computers are, and maybe there's going to be a Squadron 42 demo there. Let me know what you guys think, again, in the comments. Second is the Squadron 42 focus, right? So we have to assume this event is going to be a big marketing push for that, but hopefully a lot about Star Citizen as well. And then lastly, one that I thought was interesting, you probably won't, sponsors. But I did see people scoff at that because the ticket price is really high, and it is. But all this means is that if those sponsors are paying, CIG is throwing much less backer funds at an event like this. So what funds do come in, more of that can go towards the development. Why would that be bad, right? So I don't really get that. Then subscriber Flair. This month's Flair is obviously Halloween themed, but it's not that obvious. We'll get into it. The $10 sub is obvious that it's Halloween themed. It's 2 horror movie posters for your hangar or your hab at some point. And then the $20 sub is a Red Custodian. Don't know how that's Halloween. And then there's 2 store options, another movie poster, and a Red Devastator. So again, not sure why red is chosen for event skins. Orange would have been cool, but if you like red, this one might be for you. Then dev posts. First one's from Zach talking about the balance process of the P8AR versus other guns in its class. Now, he touched on the S71 a lot more than anything else, but the P8AR, I might have said P4 before, is basically very similar to the A03, but has better aim down sight time and a fast reload, which again wasn't animated in-game until Saturday. So Zach did most of the comparison to the S71, though, which is wildly different from this gun. So I didn't really get that. It has much faster fire rate, much more rounds per mag, and yeah, it has half the damage output. So those are the difference between the S71 and the P8, but the P8 and the A03 are very similar. And then on Sunday, these guys were posting and making patches on Sunday as well. It's crazy. Torsten let us know that they aren't happy with the lack of stats with the components in game. They're changing so much more now than ever, and sadly they do not have a solution to show us those changes very easily, but other websites work for that, like Urkel and things, so check those out, right? But they do want feedback from them, so they express that they will actively be changing these throughout the PTU cycle, so get your feedback in and help them out. And then the last post is from Yogi, who responded to a backer who simply asked them to do more with master modes, please, and he's right. It's been far too long, and Yogi explains their focus was on the introduction of the resource network instead of the flight. And I personally think that's sad. Resource network is important, but the way that the ships fly in a space game is the most important. But I also don't think Yogi deserves a lot of hate on that stuff, right? The priorities are definitely coming up from above him. But that'll do it for this week. So once again, if you guys enjoyed the show, always hit the like button, please. It helps out more than you know. Hit subscribe if you're new here and are really enjoying the weeks in review, and hopefully I'll start making more content. But yeah, that'll do it. So I'm really excited for CitizenCon. I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch. I think it's going to be fun to follow. I'm not confident that they're going to be able to deliver on what they say there, and I'm going to go in very skeptical. But I'm excited to hear what they have to say about anything gameplay related. So Here we go. But once again, make sure you hit the follow button on Twitch if you guys haven't yet, because we're going to have a huge live stream. It's going to be really awesome with myself and Burks covering the entire Citizencon event, just like we did last year. You guys came over. I think there was like 5,000 of you guys watching us, and it was really fun. Between the two, it could have been, I think, 7,000, something like that. So yeah, on Twitch, it was so fun last year. So stop by again and join the show with us. Basically, the live chat in the mainstream is usually pretty crazy. I mean, mine will be too, but at the same time, it's a little bit more calm, a little bit more chill, and a little bit more fun. So, once again, thank you so much for watching today. I will catch you guys next week. Subscribe, like, all that stuff, and yeah, I'm tired. It's been a long week, and yeah, just prepping for SitCon. Here we go. Here we go.